Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Apocrypha. Sorry about the wait there. On just technical difficulties as per usual. We were pulling, we were pulling Curtis in. So welcome everybody. So if you guys are wondering what the topic is tonight, you could just read the video description, but most of you don't. So I'm going to tell you, it is possession or projection. Okay, so it's we're looking at the psychology behind possession, and we're gonna be talking about some big fucking names. We're gonna be talking shit about the Warrens. That's a guarantee. So, I mean, we're also gonna be talking about like cases that just don't or never proved to be, you know, fake. So that we can't turn around and say, "Oh, this was a hoax." So we're going to kind of look at both sides of it. And then also like a part of it that I kind of wanted to talk about that I think that like nobody actually talks about, at least I haven't seen anybody talk about it, is everyone seems to be afraid of demonic possession except for people that work with demons. Like most people that work with demons are like, nah. And we're going to talk about whether or not people that work with demons, the Demonolaters, should or shouldn't be afraid of working with demons or reaching the head in the big black pool. It's what we're going to be talking about. But before we get into all of that, we're going to get a tarot read, the weekly read from Mystic Salon, which is going to be an actual tarot deck, not his phone, because he didn't forget a deck this time. So, Mystic, take it away. What do you got for us?
The ocean tarot.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I've had it for a while. I haven't before. I enjoy it. I like the back, reversible, good cardstock. There's a teal foil. Pretty cool.
That's really nice.
Yeah, I like that. That's
So,
nice. That's some fancy shit.
As an ocean deck, does it still integrate the elements the same way?
It does pretty good. Yeah, it does a pretty good job. It's a little different than what I'm used to. But yeah, it does a good job. Yeah, I think they do a really good job of integrating it pretty well. It's one of the few, because a lot of times you have ocean deck and it's just like so base. This one's actually pretty on point.
Nice.
Oh yeah. First card, the Knight Treasure. The treasure, obviously, we're talking pinnacles, right? So if you've heard me 100 times, I'll say it again. The whole idea behind the court cards to represent the people or the self of things that are going on. So the Knight of Treasures is kind of showing up in this spot of things are actually going pretty well for once. You might feel like maybe finances have been difficult or things have been a little bit rough for a while, but this really talks about it going well. So we have this just feeling of I can take a breath because I don't have to worry about where my next paycheck's coming from. Things are smoothing out, and if that's not happening yet, it will. So I think the Knight of Treasure with the Knight of Pentacles, if you're if you want to know what it would be in another deck, it's really being a part of what's going on around you too. So everything that's together in the earth. This is obviously a water deck, so we're talking about the things that are of earthly possessions, right? So things are coming together. We have a little bit of control back that we lost previously. So again, if you've been worried about money, finances, that kind of thing, those things are settling down finally and becoming a little bit more secure. We have the Five of Spears deck. Close. The Five of Spears, again, we're in an air card here. Those they do use a little bit of a different names, but the idea behind the Five of Spears is a little bit more ominous, a little bit more. How do you say? Shit go through first before we get to where we need to go. So the energy, we're talking about just the next week. What's the energy right now? The Knight just said things are going to get better financially. This one is saying there's going to be some more roadblocks though to your goal. going to be difficult to really get where it is you're trying to go, and you're going to feel it. You're going to feel like things are being messed up, things are missing. I would pay attention whenever really any five comes up, but especially the five of fear. I'd be paying attention to what's going on around you because you're missing. There's something in the world that you are missing that you're not actually catching that could change your outcome. Good news is, I might have to hang this up on my wall. King of Treasure. So this is a good one. We talk about, or I talk about anyway, the kings being like this surpassing of wisdom of an energy. So this again, if we're taking the knight to represent people, this is still us. So this is our progression from things are getting better financially, we're having a little more control, and then we have this difficulty thing that we're not paying attention to. The knight says if you really just take a minute and you pay attention, things will come together, but there has to be a piece of planning involved. Don't just run out and do it right away. Think about where it's going. King of Treasures knows where all of his warriors are placed on the battlefield, knows where all of the decisions are that have to be made to get the outcome, even if we don't know or feel that it might not be a good look. He knows. He has put that in. We have to respect the process. Then the Knight of Treasures, Knight of Coins, if you're familiar, Knight of Pentacles, or King, I'm sorry, of Pentacles, all are talking about this planning and organizing of information to get what you need. So I would say overall, we are getting to a better place, but we're missing some of the details, and we need to pay a little bit more attention around us and do a little bit more planning, or we're going to have some shittier days ahead. Our end goals will be delayed a little bit. But this one's definitely going up on my wall.
Just a card.
That's an awesome image. That's good art, man. I like the art in that thing.
Yeah, and I worry a little bit. Maybe if it's AI, I don't know, but I mean, they did a good job. The artwork, sure. And you still get that feeling of what it's for. It's obviously not traditional right away, but you still get the feeling of what the image is trying to tell you. So,
and at least
I really like the symbolism of the sirens and the mermaids, man, because people, they don't really understand that it actually has its place in biblical lore and demonology.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people forget the women that mated with the Watchers were cursed to be sirens. During the flood, they survived.
Shown a couple extra cards.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Good artwork.
I'm going to see if I can find out where the imagery actually came from.
Well, AI or not, it's still nice.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have an anti-AI. I like to know, because if somebody was actually designing that and putting it together, I think that's neat.
Yeah.
So this is called the Ocean Tarot deck. But in the actual book, it says the Siren's Veil Tarot.
Really?
That is weird.
Maybe they changed the name last minute.
Yeah, I like the Siren's Veil better.
Yeah, right.
Googling that now. Hold up.
At least with the artwork though, at least they like put some work in and made the text look good on the card. So there's a deck that I have called the Horror Tarot, and the artwork is amazing. It's amazing artwork. The text looks so fucking janky. Like it's like they couldn't figure out what fucking typography to use. Like so they just fucking threw something on there that looked like it was kind of like just a stock fucking horror font. And it's like, oh, God, you ruined the fucking thing. Take the font off, or the deck would be great.
I've got that same thing.
So, I think we got it upstairs. I mean, it's just, I love the artwork, and I want to use it, but then that text, I see the text on it. I'm just like, God, you really dropped the fucking ball there, man.
Comic Sans on a nice deck.
Right. Well, no, I mean they use some weird like horror style font, like drippy lettering, like something you'd see in like a 1980s horror movie or something. You know, they just use like bright red typography. Like they didn't try to blend it in or make it look good. It's boom, there it is. It's like, the fuck. So before we get into the topic this evening, Curtis, it has been a minute since you've been on the show. How
Ed.
are you, brother?
Oh, yeah, I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. I'm thriving. Yeah, I'm not. I kind of stepped out of the mainstream for a while and just focused on the great work.
Mm.
Focused on me. The most important part of our path is ourselves. You know what I mean? And as a teacher, you can't lose sight of that because that's how you end up being a shitty teacher. When you forget that you too are a student, So I had to take some time back and really do the work for myself. That way I could show people I'm actually practicing what I preach,
It's awesome.
So that's where I'm at. Yeah.
That's where you're at now, or are you coming on the other side of that?
Well, I'm coming out on the other side of it with more balance. I stay learning. You know what I mean? I make sure to not lose sight of that. And what I try to do is share as I learn rather than learn and then share what I know.
Uh-huh.
Because knowledge tends to be permeable.
Yeah.
You think you know something factually, but in truth and application, circumstantially, things might need to be different. And so you've got to be in it. You've got to be doing it to be able to effectively teach it. You can't be this all-knowing magus with a fucking white beard and a wizard hat thinking you're going to tell people how to live right.
Yeah.
Because you have to live right yourself.
100%. 100%. Yeah. Yeah. So, well, it's good to have you back on. It's been a while. This isn't like the topic that I was hoping to pull you in on, but I'm sure we can flirt.
Anytime,
I'm sure we can flirt with the other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely good to have you on. I'm noticing also. For those who don't know, tomorrow I have a guest on Satan and Coffee. It goes by Hearseman or the Altar of Darkness is what he goes by. And then after that, the next Sunday following, we have D.H. Throne coming on.
Nice.
So, well, he's been slinging some stuff on Facebook that seems pretty interesting to me, and I want to kind of pick his brain a little bit. The man likes to write books for emails. I will say that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, he likes to communicate. He does things and works with things that aren't necessarily mainstream. That's what I can appreciate about him. You know what I mean? I can't necessarily well, yeah, I just don't even need to get into any of that. He's his own person. I don't associate an individual with people that they might associate with.
I hear what you're saying. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Well, I mean, the next step after DH, who I'm hoping to get on, is it JD? Does it go by JD? My
JD?
Yeah, I think it's JD. Like my ADHD is kicking in hardcore right now. Like I can see his YouTube page.
From the light of darkness. From the light of darkness. JD Temple.
That's it. Yes. Yep.
Yeah. I've been wondering where he's been.
He's around. I haven't seen him do anything recently on YouTube, but he's been around. I've seen him like his I almost said his Facebook is active, but he's not on Facebook, at least that I can find.
Yeah, no, I was voted. You can't have opinions there.
Right. And so I kind of feel like I'm moving up the ball ladder here, like with the interviews that I'm having on Satan and Coffee. So
Please don't.
Hey, man, to each their own. You know what I'm
right,
saying? I don't hate people.
right. No, I said jokingly
I
a
just
couple weeks
believe,
ago.
epistemic responsibility is a thing, though. You know,
Mm-hmm. No, I
being
get you. No,
accountable for the shit you claim to believe in, it's an important thing, and it's a responsibility for teachers within the occult. And I have my own views, but they're just mine. They're not mine.
yeah. Yeah, I said jokingly a couple of weeks ago that like in 6 months I'm gonna have co-editing on the show. I mean that'll never happen. I mean I reached out to I reached out to co-editing once to have him on the show, and he did respond. But the problem is because I'm a very honest person, I told him very directly that I didn't like his videos because they felt like infomercials, and he never responded after that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he probably understands, though, quite honestly, because they do operate like a business, and he's kind of they have to run it that way because that's what it is. But that's where you have to kind of draw the line between spiritual teaching and marketing. Like that's kind of hard to do. You can't consolidate the two effectively.
Right. No,
You know what I
I
mean?
find it hard. I find it hard. I focus on the video and not so much on the marketing, so I don't market my shit really. And that hurts. It hurts the brand. So it does. So all right. So the topic that we're going to be getting into off the bat here. So we're going to be talking about possession or projection, and what we're looking at is the psychology of demonic experience. So there's a lot that I want to cover tonight, and I don't know if we're going to be able to get through all of it. Okay. So starting out, what I kind of want to talk about here. So in 1986, a family in West Pittston, Pennsylvania, claimed their home was invaded by a demon so powerful it spat obscenities in mirrors, threw their dog against a wall, and left messages and foul odors. That case would become the Smurl haunting.
Smurl.
Yeah.
One of the most debated possession stories of the modern age. Was it demonic, psychological, fraud? What I'm hoping we're going to do tonight, without going too far off the beaten path, is kind of plunge into that no man's land between horror and the mind.
Yeah.
And talk and get into the idea of why the Demonolator isn't afraid of demons, and should they be? And because it's been forever since we've had Curtis on, Curtis, I'm gonna pop this cherry with you. I mean, what do you think? I mean, let's talk about the case first, the Smurl haunting. Like, I mean, what are your thoughts on? Do you think it was actually demonic possession at the house? The whatever the. Do you think it was psychological? Like, what are your thoughts?
Well, I would say it's parasitic. See, demonic, when we're talking about the dark divine, Belial, Lucifer, Astaroth, Valifor, Vine, they've got better shit to do. Parasites act like that. Parasites will wear demonic masks. Parasites heavily depend on psychology as a vehicle. See, I see the human psychology as the vehicle that the spiritual forces, I'm not going to say demons because any demon I work with just doesn't do that. But spiritual forces will ride and drive the psyche because they operate like parasites. You are a host. So was the house overcome by that sort of force? Yeah, I think it was to an extent. But I also think human psychology tends to make things a little more horrific than it actually is. If that makes sense.
It does. That makes perfect sense. Fucking god damn it, ADHD, man. I didn't take my medication today, and it's really showing. Mystic, what are your thoughts on it?
I have a lot of hard time, well, taking out the whole Warren thing. Independently, it's really hard to give much information at all because, I've not researched it. I've not read it. I mean, I've seen movies. I have read The Haunted, actually. And who knows? To me, at this point, if it's something, I mean, it sounded to me more like it would be a poltergeist, if anything, than like a demon, because of what the way that it was explained and the type of haunting it was. And I unfortunately don't trust that anybody had any good research. I know that a lot of the discussions that came out of it, other than the Warrens, was that it was a hoax. The Warrens were the only ones that said it was real, other than the Smurls.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, it's kind of like, do I think that can happen? Yeah. Do I think there's poltergeists? I think there's demons, and maybe not in the way that a lot of people think, but I just, something about that one didn't sit right. The whole thing,
Yeah.
I really would venture that that was more of a psychology issue than a possession. And psychology or possession or projection. I don't know if it's either of those categories, but I have learned a lot about different things, and I have heard things that I believe because of the way that they were expressed, explained, and discussed. This one isn't one that I could it doesn't seem like it's a thing. And poltergeist, maybe,
Okay. So Rook, what are your thoughts there, man?
Well, I think whether there was activity or not, to what level, I know just personally how the the mind can get involved and really want to believe or experience things at times. So there could have been some activity, but perhaps maybe they weren't even intentionally being fraudulent, but the mind was kind of taking them there and they experienced it that way, partly. I haven't really researched this one too much, but just reading a little bit about it.
Okay,
I
cool.
mean, I honestly, I can agree with both of you guys. And let's face it, how much of magic is just that? Like our mind takes us there and it's success. And we see it as success, but is it really? Are we projecting? But is that really wrong? Because isn't that what hermetics and magic is? As above, so below, as within, so without. So it's a really fine line to walk. So I can appreciate that view completely. And I do agree with you, Mystic. Like a lot of people are going to put something like that in a demonic box. But when you look at the sorts of activity that you mentioned, it is kind of.
And so this is where the next part.
I would include projection as a part of magic too.
Yeah.
I mean, for sure.
Yeah,
like that.
Definitely.
That's, how we do stuff, and it just the description sounds like what somebody would describe as a poltergeist. Or I like Brooke said, I don't think there's. Well, I don't know, but I don't see that there's anything intentional, like they're misleading. Now the Warrens, that's a different story. We haven't talked about that yet.
We will.
Family, they, as much as they went through to try to get this taken care of, and they did. They went through the Catholic Church. They went through all kinds of things. They believed it, and if they believed that something was going on, don't think it was demons, because everything is a demon that somebody thinks is, oh, that's bad demon, which is stupid.
How can you say, what somebody's experience with spirit is or is not? How can we say that they didn't experience that also?
Well, we can't say that they didn't experience it, but then there comes a certain point inside of the process, right? Like when you're investigating it and stuff like that, and it doesn't crop up for anyone else except for the two people that benefit the most from it actually happening. And then that's where you kind of get into, okay, we're talking about, is it projection? Is it possession? Is it just a hoax? So the next thing that we need to do, because there's 4 of us, is we need to define terms. Okay. So To get into this, we need to define possession, trance, obsession, spirit possession, projection, and then ask the question, when someone says demon, is it external agency or internal psyche? Okay, so possession, starting with that, the way I view possession is being taken control of, being possessed. The traditional idea and concept of what possession is projected out as being, right? That is how I define that. Anyone else got something different, or do we all agree on that?
I would
I
say in
agree
this
with that.
context, yeah.
Okay.
'Cause,
Now, what
there's
about
more meanings
trance?
to that for me, for this
Right.
particular discussion. Yeah.
Okay. So, what about trance? Let's go, Curtis. What do you think? How would you define trance?
We're always in a state of trance. That trance is going to differ depending on the activity we're taking part in. So, trance is a natural human phenomenon. When you're at work, you are oftentimes in a trance. If
Ain't
you're
that
working
fucking
on
right?
graphic design, you're zoned out. You're in a trance.
That's fucking true.
When you're meditating, you take on a different type of trance. Malice, when
Mhm.
he's reading tarot cards, to tap into the intuitive symbolism, he has to enter a specific kind of trance. So it's a mental state that deals directly with the brain waves, in my opinion.
Okay, I can agree with that. Mystic Rook, you
Yep.
guys on board with that one?
Same.
Yeah.
All
Same.
right, cool. Now, obsession, Mystic. How would you define obsession?
I would define obsession extremely psychologically, as in somebody becomes so obsessed with something that they may or may not even be able to see that obsession is the connection there. So it's pervasive thoughts about one thing having to be true and happening, and regardless of evidence provided to you, that's also illusion, actually. But definitely a psychological attachment, and it usually renders the attachment invisible to the person experiencing the obsession.
Okay, I mean, I can definitely get on board with that, gentlemen. Yeah.
Yes, I'm on board.
All right, cool. So now the next one has like a kind of like a double question to it, because possession, the initial kind of possession, being taken control of, you can be possessed by your emotions, not necessarily something spiritual. You can be possessed by an idea. You can be possessed by a lot of things. The next one is spiritual or spirit possession specifically, right?
So when you mentioned possession the first time, by the way, just to clarify that's the intention that I took for. That's why I said for this situation.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, so that's why that's why in this, like in the outline, I put possession and spirit possession to cover both those bases, right? So the initial possession is just being overcome by something, controlled by something, like whether that be internal or external. But spirit possession is purely, or at least in my definition, I would say purely external possession, something external to yourself possessing you to push you forward to do something that perhaps maybe you wouldn't normally do.
Yeah. Our first definition to me fits more for spiritual possession, if that's what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Curtis, what do you think? Do you think there should be a differential between possession and spirit possession, or?
I mean, you're right. You can be possessed by emotions that are yours. You can be possessed by an illogical thought process. Spiritual possession, though, is definitely an external sentience in and of itself that tries to take your place. So there's a primary difference there, but it's still psychological in that the psyche is the vehicle. It's the vehicle that is used. So,
fair enough.
That's my treatment.
Okay, that's cool. And Rook, now for you, how would you define projection?
Projection. I had my other answer. So projection, I think, could kind of be a part of all of it. So the first possession part, when you break it from possession and spiritual possession, I think the first possession might be something that you have kind of control over, and it's something that the ideas and emotions that are kind of consuming you, but you're kind of over it or can be. And the other, like you guys said, was outside.
Mhm.
Projection to me, in that sense, would be maybe related to what I was kind of talking about in the beginning with our mind. Maybe something, maybe we can project things or truth to things that we want to see or that we'd like to see or like to happen or occur. So we project that as the
Mhm.
truth. That's kind of what I would describe it for me.
I mean,
Like a sign
I
on something.
yeah, I mean, I can kind of sit with that. Like, yeah, definitely. Because the way I view projection is you take something internal and you project it onto, like, almost like a mirror. Like you create a mirror off of something else, right? So like it happens a lot if you think about. I think the easiest example I can think of is like thinking about like a toxic relationship, right? Is like when somebody's a piece of shit person, right, and they project their behavior onto somebody else and blame them for the shit that same person is doing, right? That's like the easiest way I know how to describe how I would define projection. Is that kind of like what you're going for, Rook?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's so yeah, I'm on board with that. Gentlemen, can we agree with that?
I
Yeah.
kind of add something to that
Yeah, of course, go
because
for
I
it.
think there's a couple layers to projection because that's definitely true. But have you ever said, you're playing the radio, you're driving down the road, you think of a song, and then all of a sudden that song comes on.
Mm.
That's your mental projection taking manifestation in the world. That's just a basic everyday example, but that's what we as magicians look to master, right?
Hmm.
So there's that level of projection as well. That's just what I wanted to add.
Okay. Okay.
We can project our thoughts and they can manifest in the world, which is why, again, I say the psyche is the vehicle that they use.
Hmm. I mean, yeah, I mean, I can definitely vibe with that as a definitely an aspect of it because we as magicians, I mean, we project all the time, right?
Yeah.
We're constantly in a state of like spiritual and psychological projection, like, with the things that we want, we desire, what we're trying to manifest. I mean, manifestation, the first step of manifestation is projection, right? To kind of project that idea that you want externally and then allow, manifestation to take hold. So yeah, I mean, I can definitely see that as part of it. So now the question that we pose this evening, when someone says demon, is it external agency or internal psyche? Mystic, let's
In
go with
my
you
opinion,
first.
yeah, go ahead, Mystic. I want to hear what he says.
I didn't hear the question. I was reading chat.
Okay, so when someone says demon, is it external agency or internal psyche?
I'm going to plead the fifth again to not incriminate myself. Same way I said in the first definition. It depends. These things have multiple definitions for situations. So yes and no. You give me some context, I can tell you specifically. Because we have to assume, that
Can I give
demons are
you an
real.
example? Can I
First,
give
yeah.
you an example?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Voodoo Asan. You have a Bokor. He's performing a ritual. All of a sudden, one specific individual in the room becomes possessed. They start moving in ways humans don't move, soaring through the air, not flying, but you've seen these people doing cartwheels and dancing
Yeah.
in inhuman ways. Is that projection? Is that external agency taking them over? What is that?
I would consider that external agency. Again, I don't know the subtext of that. I don't know, I don't have a knowledge-based tool to say whether that's something that is taking over them. But when we say possession, I picture it when we're talking spiritually as an external thing, as an external, adjudication of, kind of like how the zombie parasite takes over the ant's body, fungus. For that time period, something external is driving the car.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fucking things are creepy as fuck, man.
Uh-huh. But I mean, that's not always the case, right? In other situations where
Right.
people are possessed or become possessed, I think it's not necessarily an external thing. I think it's an internal thing where they have created an entity even that is possessing them. So yeah, is it external? Sure, but it's their projection. So
Mm.
All right, Curtis.
both
So
are
what were you going to
possible.
say?
But specific to that situation, I would say
Well, I honestly see, like Malice, or what Mystic is saying. Malice is it's circumstantial, and I agree. But for general context, the demonic agency is external, but it is also internal. This is basic hermetics. When we look at basic hermetics, this is not debatable. Why this is such a clusterfuck and a debate in the occult is beyond me. The demons at all times are within us potentially, just like the demons externally are woven within the fabric of reality. We are a part of the fabric of reality. Scientifically, there's no empty space between you and I at the level of molecule, right? So both are true in my eyes. Just because I avoid the mental confusion myself, right? I'm not trying to say anyone else is right or wrong. What I'm trying to say is this is the point of view that keeps me from the internal debate and helps me to come to a more complete functional understanding of the occult so I can apply it to my life and get results. It's that simple for me.
Yeah, no, definitely. And Rook, before you give your answer, you're going to get us demonetized because of that
oh, you gotta
TV
get
in
the
the
TV
background.
screen.
I saw Lilo and Stitch, and I'm like, "Fuck, God damn it, Disney's going to come after us now." Appreciate it. So Rook, what are your thoughts on the conversation?
Well, so I always get accused of thinking the negative or skeptical. So, from my experience in this kind of thing, which is not specifically with demons, but I grew up Southern Baptist and also Pentecostal. So, I would see people, please don't be offended if anybody's done this, but become caught up in speaking other languages and wrapped up in that. And to me, that is an energy that they created. And I'm not saying anything is wrong with that, but to me, that is the person possessing the idea and driving the outcome. From what I've witnessed, and I know I'm skeptical and I have that negative view. I'm not saying it can't happen. That is my experience from that background. That
Okay.
people were driving and generating that energy, which is not wrong or right.
I've seen a lot of that shit like on YouTube and stuff like that. Like those, I don't know if you call them churches. I mean, I honestly don't know what the hell you would call them, but like, you know, like very evangelical, very loud, very flamboyant kind of, you know, practice. And like a priest comes around and starts randomly putting his hand on people's fucking foreheads and they start flopping around like fucking fish and shit, you know? And it's just like, God damn. And I just got to sit there and like, for me, like when I see something like that, like my brain immediately goes, that's psychological. That's not actual possession. Like that's not like traditional possession in the sense of a demonic possession. That is, you know, somebody, it's almost like mass hysteria.
Yes.
It's not biblical.
Right.
It's just not.
No,
I mean, listen, I come from a Pentecostal background. I actually have a 2-year Bible degree. When I was in Bible school, we were attending a Christmas get together at the church. And this was a big effing church in Detroit. And these people from all over the world were coming up and praying. And guys, I was hearing these prayers in foreign languages, but I was also knowing exactly what they were saying. That was discerning tongues. That's biblical. That's biblical. glossolalia, whatever they call it. You
Mhm.
know, like that's not a language. That's babble.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
Yeah.
babble. Like when you actually hear someone that can go into a trance and begin speaking spiritual languages, there's syntax, there's perceivable context, and it's not just you
Yeah.
sound like an old Chevy.
I
Like,
want to
Yeah.
go look it
get
up
the hell
now.
out of here. So yeah,
Yeah, definitely,
but I
definitely.
agree.
So,
That's they are possessing the idea and
mhm.
forcing the outcome, but we're not saying it isn't a spiritual phenomenon either, because this is an Indian practice. It's called Shaktipat, where you can place palms on people and ignite their kundalini. And it will, I've experienced that under a man
Mhm.
called Mahavajra, who was a teacher of mine in the 90s when I was a part of the Mystic Knighthood of the Crowned Heart. He had a seminar. Dude touched the top of my head, and I was laughing hysterically for hours on end. And my whole neurology was just all day, just Kriyas, just my neurology, just, I don't know what it was, but it was a
Mm.
physical, perceivable phenomenon. But that's what they're doing in these churches. That's not biblical, though.
Mhm. Yeah, exactly. So, going through this, the reason why we're talking about all of this and we're setting the terms and we're setting the definitions and all of this stuff and we're talking about this is because I don't believe that possession is just a horror trope. I don't. For me, and I'm curious to hear what you guys think about this, because this is pushing the line out a little bit to what people think this is capable of. But I believe that this shit, it shapes laws, medicine, psychiatric care, theology, and even social stigma.
Yes.
Like it's not just something that happens in a fucking horror movie. Like there's so much surrounding this subject.
Yeah. Yes. It's a tool. It's why we have science. You know what I mean? And people, I think, where the most wicked thing that has been done to us as human beings is we have separated our science and logic from our spirituality. And because of that, our physical lives no longer build and cultivate spiritual presence and power. And it's for that reason we're mostly automatons. We're machines. We work, we eat, we sleep. And that's bullshit to me.
Mm-hmm.
That's not me. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I refuse.
Yeah. Mystic, what are your thoughts?
I don't have much to add to that. It's
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. Rook, what about you?
it's the most succinct way to say it.
No, I get it. I get it. I get it.
Oh, to what to Curtis's point about being disconnected, or was it prior? Was there a
Well,
different?
I mean, about what we're talking about, like, the possession or the idea of possession, demonic possession, has, at least in the past and possibly still does, shape laws, medicine, psychiatric care, theology, and social stigma.
Oh goodness, yeah, and sometimes I think not in good ways. If we just look through history about about psychiatric cases and care, and when people said what was it, even hysteria, wasn't that rooted to when women were in their cycle and stuff?
That's where you get the hysterectomy from.
I think some of it can be dangerous. And again, I always see the negative the downside of things, but I think it definitely shapes those things, like possessions, all those ideas. Science, I think, for the better, and medicine probably for the better, but definitely long time ago, negatively towards like psychiatric stigmas
Yep.
and things.
Definitely
Yep.
separating them is part of the reason we have so much trouble now, because now there's no even intent to try to figure it out. Like I always used to say, even on our show, a couple years ago, If you go back to 1920 with a cell phone, they're like, that's absolutely impossible. There's no way that could ever happen. That's demon magic.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, we know better now. Why is it so different now? Can't say, well, we just don't know yet.
Well, yeah. I mean, guys, we're living in a different era as
Mhm.
well. We need to understand what people thought of witchcraft as. Never suffer a witch to live. That's biblical, but we got to understand what a witch was. Witchcraft comes from the word pharmakeia.
Mhm.
The black magic is the pharmaceutical industry, dude. They're claiming to help you, but they are poisoning you. That's black magic. Okay? Those are the people that God is saying, you're bad. You shouldn't be doing that. Right? We could also look at biblical examples of possession and see them as, quite frankly, parasitic control. This is why Christ himself said, these kind come out only through prayer and fasting.
Mhm.
Well, you got to think back then they ate living food. Now our food is biologically engineered to feed parasites.
Mhm.
That's true demonic possession. These things are like physical receivers for what I would call demiurgic impulses. These impulses that want you to be greedy, that want you to do things that do not serve harmony in your community, that cause you to want to do things that will harm others. That's not natural. That's not human. All these people that were celebrating the death of that one gentleman recently, man, like that's not natural to celebrate death like that. That's not human. Tell me these people aren't parasitically driven. Look at the term parasite. What does it mean? We as human beings fit that description 100%. We exploit our host, which is the flesh of Belial, the earth, Gaia, whatever term you want to use. We exploit the resources for our benefit. We care not what happens to the earth and the ecosystem. We're exploiting it all. Why? That's not natural. That's not our design.
Mhm. Refusal to live in balance with the environment. Yeah. 100%. 100%. You guys do realize we're not going to get through this whole show tonight. Like
Yeah, no.
we're not even halfway through right now.
I do want to not to derail it, but I like the question that Gray posited about schizophrenics. Because this is something I deal with a lot in my brain, and I'm going to tie it back around to that a couple the parasite thing. If somebody tells me to hear voices in their head, what drives a schizophrenic diagnosis is that it interferes with your ability to do normal things that are expected, normal and consistent. And generally speaking, schizophrenics' voices don't just tell them to, "Hi, how's the weather? I'm talking to myself about something." It drives them to harm themselves or to harm others or to be confused, and it breaks down their identity. So I'm sure that being possessed would do something very similar.
Yeah.
But with schizophrenia especially, there's treatments for schizophrenia, medications, and behavioral treatment. Some of those treatments quiet voice. If a medication often can quiet the voice, then probably schizophrenia. But there's also medications that can restore certain chemicals in the brain. And when that happens, people, I say normal because it's what somebody that would do in normal course of the day. They react to come back to to a normal state for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So in those cases, I would be like, yeah, that's schizophrenia. But if I give somebody who's hearing voices a medication or a treatment, and those things continue, then there's a chance to me those may or may not be schizophrenia or something similar. But there's just so much more than schizophrenia when it comes to thinking of possession. I know a lot of people actually go straight to that thought process of, oh, if they're hearing voices, they're schizophrenic. I'm like, I hear voices. I've heard voices before. I've never had one tell me to kill somebody or murder somebody. I tend to think it's my ancestors talking to me. And if I can believe that, then I can believe that a demon might talk to me one day if I'm listening. But I'm not listening right now, so that's not something that comes to me. But I do think it's a very good question and very important to consider when we're talking about, is this possession or is this projection, right? Schizophrenia is really a case of projection, your own psyche coming back at you because something's not right, or something is triggering your optic nerve for a hallucination or delusion when it's not really there. It's a really good way to lose your identity, and then
Well, this is also what we do as occultists when we're evoking spirits. I mean, let's face it, the spirit isn't really standing there. You're putting your brain in a precarious situation and messing with things in there in ways that aren't normal. And you're going to experience things that are abnormalities. And if someone else walks in the room, you might see Asmodee standing there, but they're not gonna. They're gonna look at you like you're insane. And guess what? Medically, you would be. But are you?
I don't know. Like, I don't know that even for me, I don't think I would consider that medically insane so much if that vision isn't destroying my sense of self-identity and what I'm doing. I think that's kind of where it draws the line and becomes, to be a psychiatric disorder in the DSM, something has to be preventing you from doing the things that you would want to do. So, like, I can't get to work, I can't live a life, I can't get food on my table, I can't get shelter. If my mentation is keeping me from doing those things, then yeah, there's a problem. That's a disorder. But we have had many conversations with people, pretty much all of us on this call right now, and half of, not all of us in the chat, have experienced deity or some type of engagement, and we're not schizophrenic because we're initiating, we're engaging those things, and we're creating that thing. It's not creating us or taking us down this weird pathway. I think that's important. And then, just to throw one thing out there, on the subject before we kind of hit real fast on it. I have seen, and I can understand how people get to the point to where they are celebrating the death of something or someone. But generally speaking, when you see that to me is also some significant projection of something you don't like about yourself on somebody else. And I can be the word not unhappy with situations on the physical plane that have occurred, because I think it makes our physical world a better and safer place. But I still have to evaluate and identify what those things are. That's another thing that will differentiate somebody from having a mental illness versus engaging something spiritual or moving. I hope that makes sense. I feel like I was babbling there at the end.
No, I don't think you were babbling. It makes sense to me. And I get what you're saying. And you brought up an interesting point, too, in regard to inner dialogue, because I teach this stuff directly. And what's interesting is, like within sports science, let's say I'm a fighter. I can't go train today. So while I'm at work, on break, I will visualize myself shadowboxing in the mirror. I'm still firing the same neurons. According to sports science, I'm still cultivating that skill because my mind doesn't separate itself from the body. In the same way, that inner dialogue, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but your tongue will twitch. When you have this inner dialogue with yourself, your tongue will move. I tell people during possession, in order to bring that on, what you need to do is drive the tongue to the roof of the mouth. That way, the voices aren't yours. If you're hearing them, they're going to be less likely to be yours because you're shutting off your inner dialogue. You're shutting it off.
That's a very interesting point. I've just earlier today when we were talking about stuff, I was noticing that I always have my tongue pressed hard against the roof of my mouth when I'm considering or thinking about things that I'm not familiar with, because I see that I'm not the one getting the information. But I never thought of it that way. That's interesting.
Yeah. And it's one of the ways we can train ourselves to still the mind, too, when I'm teaching meditation. This is why they teach us to do that, because it
Mhm.
shuts off the inner dialogue. And if that inner dialogue is still happening, we don't necessarily need to fight against it. Maybe you should listen to it. Maybe it's guidance,
Right.
you know?
Yep.
And it could be spiritual sentience, could be the ancestors, whatever you ascribe to. Point being,
Interesting.
it's not our finite consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
That is very true.
You know, it's crazy is I always overdo these shows like when I write them out because like we go through stuff so quickly usually. So I'm like, we usually go through really quick. So I'm going to make this like, I'm going to write for something that might be typically 2 hours, but because it's us, we're going to go through it in like 40 minutes. We're not even into like the historical and cultural roots of possession yet. Like, which is this part right before the Warrens. Like, we still got to talk about Jesus. We got to talk about the Afro-Caribbean cultures, the Christian
get moving.
context, right? So,
Or there's going to be a part 2.
right. So I mean, well, I think the thing is like in through we didn't focus on it, but I do think that a lot of like the cultural aspects were mentioned. I know Curtis mentioned Jesus, which was definitely part of what I was going to talk about with Jesus casting out demons in the context of the New Testament exorcism stories. So I think Curtis kind of covered that pretty well. Then medieval Europe, mental illness, right? We kind of talked about that. I think Mystic, you kind of covered that pretty well, right? Like mental illness was explained as demonic obsession or possession before the rise of medical models. So, that was kind of covered. And then late medieval and early modern moves towards humors, right? So early psychiatry and secularization, right, of everything. When everything started kind of being separated. And again, Mystic, you kind of covered that. So right now I am trying to move the boat along rather quickly here. Right.
The Warren.
So yes, the Warrens and hoaxes, right? So I'm going to talk about their biggest case. The one that has, I think, 4 movies at this point. The Amityville horror.
Conjuring.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, so the Amityville horror and the Lutzes. So the Lutzes claimed the house was possessed only 28 days before fleeing. And the haunting has been repeatedly debunked. The Lutz story has inconsistencies. The haunting portion is often considered a hoax. The role of the Warrens is questionable and may have been opportunistic. Media involvement is how I see it. So, then obviously the one we talked about in the beginning, the Smurl haunting, right? So the family claimed poltergeist phenomena, assaults, foul smells, levitations, all that. The Warrens claim multiple spirits, a demon, messages in mirrors, etc. So, and going through this, like we can kind of go through the Warrens' catalog of shit. But as they claim phenomena and levitation, voices in unknown tongues, poltergeist chaos, skeptics raised red flags. No independent audio spectra. Questionable chain of custody of evidence. Anecdotal witness statements and no scientific replication. So where's the baseline for control? And where's the peer review? Now, here's the thing, though. Has that ever existed in these cases anywhere? Forget about the Warrens. I'm hard pressed to think of, and I did a bit of research here. I'm hard pressed to think of any case that has any of that.
Let's remember 2 things. One, the separation of spiritual and science, right? That Curtis brought up earlier. That's a huge piece of it. But just because we don't have peer-reviewed information doesn't make something categorically false. It means we haven't proven it yet. It's like we didn't know radio waves were in the air 100 years ago. So I don't know of any peer-reviewed stuff, but I don't expect to ever see any peer-reviewed stuff because I don't think we have a benchmark to identify or compare it against to peer-review it.
Right.
We haven't developed that yet.
I think we could be responsible human beings and create control group situations.
We could. That's true.
You know what I mean? We just don't. Why not? Why not? You know, this guy, he's a great channeler. Whoever this guy might be, hook him up, see which parts of his brain are activating.
Ooh, the
Scientists know
telepathy
which
tapes.
parts of the brain would be responsible for channeling spiritual forces. It's going to be in the rear, right? They're going to be able to tell you, okay, this is activating. So this, you put those two dots together. Okay, this guy is experiencing something different. Let's record this. Let's control it. Let's put in this guy that's not so good. See what happens when he does the same ritual.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but we don't do that because we have completely drawn a line. Spirituality over here, science over here. We've got all of this ghost hunting equipment now. Ghost boxes, things of this nature. The God helmet, things like that. I've got all this technology here. I could be trying to do it on YouTube. I'd probably get a lot of fucking views trying to evoke spirits wearing a God helmet. Why am I not fucking doing it?
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell you why, because of the scrutiny that you get trying to bridge spirituality with science. If you get any kind of results, they'll murk you, put you away. Because
I don't
we
want to go.
might be proving the existence of something that's beyond this world. And that's what they don't want to have us do.
Yeah, I don't want to go too far outside of that, but I'm going to bring up something that I recently got into. Some of you may have read it or have seen it. Have you ever heard of the telepathy tapes?
No.
The
I've not
telepathy
heard
tape.
them.
So this is to me is one of these things that if you're interested in, like, they're not peer reviewed, but they are scientific, and it's around individuals who are autistic and their ability to communicate telepathically. If you are a scientific person, and even in a little bit, if you watch them, listen to them, to me, it's irrefutable proof. I should say that properly. So just kind of on that same lens, there's some actual videoed evidence of different kids across the country telepathically communicating with each other. So because there is now some ability to, and these are kids that society had literally written them off as that they're not even there. Like they don't even exist because of their level of autism was that they don't even talk. And they've been given spelling, and it's still people are still saying it's fraudulent. I'm like, the fact that we can still look at this and have the information right in front of you and say that because you don't understand it, that's really the eye-opening piece of it. If you're interested, you should check them out in the telepathy tapes. They're on Spotify, or you can watch them on YouTube. I think so. But I have been blown away by the level of, rigorous testing that they have used and documented for telepathy. And I'm like, okay, we can think this about telepathy in our minds. What else do we have the ability to do, right?
And let's think about this as well. Is telepathy actually a norm? How many times have you just had a random thought out of
They talk
nowhere?
about that. They talk about that. This might be the standard that we lost.
Yeah, and because we say telepathy is not a thing, we shut it off and we accept actual telepathy as our own inner dialogue. I don't know. I mean, it's just an example off the top of my head, but that could be one example of how we've got it wrong. Because again, at the level of the molecules, there's no empty space. We believe in the conscious and the subconscious mind, but we also believe in this collective consciousness, this collective subconsciousness. We're always a part of that, guys.
Mm-hmm.
That's how the medium taps into the ancestors. That's how the person that actually practices possession does it. They just do it intentionally. And like you said, Malice, it's not a horror trope. The fact that Hollywood has made it out to be that way is one way, in my opinion, that they've disempowered mankind.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, and the thing is like with all of this, like when we talk about the psychology and stuff like that, I mean, I have, unfortunately, I did not do a very good job at taking notes here. Like I put a link in, but I wrote down the part that I thought was important, but not what it was talking about. So there's no context to any of this. So many so-called possession symptoms mirror psychotic disorder, dissociative identity disorder, temporal lobe epilepsy, conversion disorder, dissociative trance disorder. Also, guys, if you're wondering where the sources are that I got all this stuff, it's in the description. I put all the sources there so you guys can look it up. This is from PubMed. Okay. A case of possession trance disorder with a 3-year follow-up found that diagnosing someone as possessed may reinforce supernatural beliefs and discourage medical treatment. Again, that's PubMed. Delusions of possession in schizophrenia to Mystic's point. Patients sometimes interpret their hallucinations or thought insertion as demonic. Right? The clinical review, Demonic Possession, Theology, and Mental Health argues that belief in possession persists, but most human distress can be framed in medical and psychological models. Give me a quick second. I got an order coming here. I got an Amazon delivery.
2 minutes later. That's funny. I just recently got into the telepathy tapes and really understanding them and listening to them for a friend that had recommended them. And, you know, I've always thought that we have the abilities and the ability to do that kind of stuff and to really think through it, and that it's part of our connection. But when you couple it with people like the Warrens, who did things so unscientifically, I think they just did a lot of damage to even trying to do the right thing or figuring it out. Because I think they were driven by money and fame, not by character. Even if it was true,
Did they
it still
ever
had a
prove
lot of
that
damage. Huh?
Did the Warrens ever substantiate the Annabelle claim with the Raggedy Ann doll? Is that true?
That I don't
That's
know.
what I've been thinking
about
the
that.
last 10 minutes.
I'll be right back. You guys keep going.
It's funny.
Well, you heard that one of the dudes like got dead, right?
Yeah.
That was like traveling with the doll. I don't know much about it, but
Had a heart
like
attack.
we've got to understand at the level of the psyche, if these are all fraudulent cases, this is mass hysteria. This is like affecting us now, and these people were big in what, the 70s?
Yeah,
I don't
80s,
know.
70s, 80s.
You know what I mean?
It's scary.
But these are exorcists, and this is the thing. You've got modern occultists who evoke spirits, not understanding that they are learning exorcism. Exorcism is to command a spirit. When Jesus was commanding spirits to leave
Not
men
really.
and enter pigs, he was evoking them, commanding them, go. When you're evoking a spirit and commanding it, do this, you're an exorcist. You're performing an exorcism. So everyone, they hate these Christian terms.
Oh yeah.
But it's a part of it. It's a part of our practice. It just is. We can change terms all we want. Like in the left-hand path, you hear this black flame term thrown around so much, not understanding that actually comes from the Torah. It means the intellectual knowledge that comes from reading the book. And then there's a white flame, which is the revelation that comes from the divine. These are terms that are being misappropriated by white people that want to make money, like Ed and Lorraine Warren in modern times.
And it
Just
it sets you back. Not only does it set you back just because it happened, but because it erodes any potential trust there was anyway.
Right.
It's like,
yes, the people that actually are trying to do this as a way of life to better their lives, they get a bad rap and they get demonized and villainized to a ridiculous extent. And
And
as
the
a
Warrens
former
had
Pentecostal,
thousands. Yeah.
you know, it's all fraudulent.
Mhm.
It's all fraudulent.
What are you going to
But
say?
there's reality to it.
Oh no, I was just gonna say the level that they did this, they were fraudulent. They had like thousands of cases. The ones were so widespread in what they were doing. It's kind of crazy, like
Yeah, I don't
how
think
they
that
kept it up.
necessarily they were hoaxing. I think that they just did such a poor job of trying to do it the right way that it wouldn't matter.
They got
And
their feelings
embellished.
into it,
Yeah.
and they got
Did
they got caught up in a windstorm of media exposure, and they had to keep and maintain that sort of reputation. So I bet you a lot of it was fraudulent, maybe not intentionally, but a lot of it was likely over exaggerated to fuel the media hype and the controversy, because bad attention is still attention and it makes money.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This debate of Ed and Lorraine Warren being fraudulent, this isn't new. They were saying this to them to their face on stage with Phil Donahue and shit.
No,
I remember that.
yeah, I remember.
Run and tell Geraldo.
Yeah, right.
Geraldo got hit. Remember when Geraldo got hit with a chair?
Oh, I
Yeah,
remember.
that was fun.
Roy COVID 1.0. We've devolved. Worry.
Sorry.
So yeah, I have a bunch of stuff like that where we're going through Elizabeth Loftus studies, stuff like that, all kind of mentioned here, like kind of like with psychology's kind of view on demonic possession or just possession in general. And I mean, it's pretty consistent across the board. I think it's kind of hard to find like any psychologist that's going to sit there and say that they're open to the possibility of possession, unless you start getting into parapsychology, and that's where the line starts to blur a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it can. But I'm one of these people, and I'll say that I am one of these people. I believe that one of these modern go-to solutions is to call someone mentally ill when they're actually very gifted. And I'm not saying that people should not take their medicine. I'm not that kind of irresponsible teacher.
Mm-hmm.
What I am saying is that sometimes things are happening that we don't understand. Let's not, okay, if we don't believe in God, you have to put yourself aside and believe that you aren't God and you don't know everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah,
like,
no, I mean 100%, man.
It's weird.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is, what I mean?
Just go to the fucking Appalachians.
Yeah.
So Alter Darkness, good to see you in here. He says an egregore servitor that is empowered and used in fear cases can become its own energy source. I mean, I agree with that. I mean, yeah,
Sure.
an egregore, I mean, that is essentially what an egregore is, right? It is something that, because there's so much belief behind it, it becomes its own thing.
Poltergeist Part 1.
Well, see, that's another misappropriated term. Egregore comes from the Watchers. It's the Grigori. What people term as an egregore now is a thought form that we create.
Mm-hmm.
When I was coming up within the Mystic Knighthood of the Crowned Heart, the organization was considered the egregore. In other words, we were all individuals, but we collectively represented an astral being. But these are all different ways of using the same term, like the term black flame, like I was telling these guys. It's misappropriated. That comes from Jews, dude. It's the Torah. The black flame is the intellectual knowledge of God. It's what it is. The white flame is the revelation that comes from studying that. It's what it is. This is why Michael W. Ford always preaches what? Higher intellect. It's the black flame. Right? We're taking terms and using them in ways that bastardize them and completely take the power out of them. An
100%.
egregore isn't a thought form. They're different.
Well, as much as I would love
An
to keep
egregore is a
stabbing at
negative.
this, right? As much as I would love to keep stabbing at this, we have gone for an hour and a half. I'll grant you for 20 minutes of that is the intro. So we've been on for an hour and 10 minutes. But I do have to get making some chili, gentlemen.
Oh yeah.
Sounds good.
Oh yeah, I'm looking for it. I just got from Amazon, just delivered the meat grinder, so I'm actually taking some nice flank steak and grinding that up.
Nice.
So yeah.
That's gonna be good.
Yeah.
Anyway, Curtis, man, thank you so much for coming on with us. I do want to get you on
Thanks
again.
for
I think I might get you on a Satan and Coffee at some point if you're up in the mornings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm always up. That's why I'm always saying hi.
okay, yeah, because the Satan and Coffee shows, those are all morning shows. So it's like, Wednesday, Friday, 6:30 in the morning Mountain Standard, and then Sundays are 10 o'clock in the morning Mountain Standard. So the weird thing with the schedule, guys, when it comes to my shit, is I'm going to be switching to Central Standard here in a little while, because the time in Mexico doesn't change, but the time in the United States does. So right now I'm technically Mountain Standard Time, but once the clocks go back, I think it is, or forward, or whatever the hell it does in October, I'm going to be Central Standard. So I'll have the same time zone as Texas. So just so you guys are aware. So if you notice that like the times go from Mountain Standard to Central Standard and you're like, wait, what the fuck happened? That's why.
All right.
So anyway,
we fall
everyone,
back soon.
everyone, thank you for showing up. You guys are fucking amazing. You're the reason that we do this. And as always, hail thy fucking self. We'll see you in the next one. Peace the fuck out.
Deuce.